Welcome back everyone, Nathurow's back on the scene with another video, and this time I decided to check out a video from Wolters World. So this guy is from the United States and he makes videos on his travels to different countries. Now I have seen a video of his before. I saw the one that was about if you're an American, what not to wear in Europe. I thought that one was pretty interesting. I noticed that people in the comment section were kind of divided in that one, but I decided to react to this one called Visit Poland, the Don'ts of Poland, which, that caught my attention, so I thought I'd check it out. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a perspective from an American of the don'ts of Poland. If you have a recommendation of someone from Poland, maybe that would make a video saying of the don'ts, like maybe I can watch this one to get an American's perspective and then someone from Poland. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Warsaw, Poland, for things you don't do when you are here in Poland. And I'm going to get started, not even with number one. Before we even get started with number one, I want to start with number zero. The thing you need to know before you come here is don't tell or call the Polish Eastern Europeans. You will not make any friends saying that. If you look on a map, you'll see that Poland is actually in the center of Europe, a little bit north, but it's in the center of Europe.
Okay, so this definitely reminds me of when I reacted to the Peter videos. Like, people in the comment sections, they get upset when Peter himself, who's from Slovakia, calls like either Slovakia or Czech Republic Eastern Europe. A lot of people will say like, no, it's central, but then Peter pointed out in one of his videos like, nah, it's it's geographically central but culturally Eastern. In a pure geographical perspective, I can definitely see Poland, being Central Europe, but there's also a stigma that if you're considered part of Eastern Europe, like it brings up that past of being like a part of the Soviet Union, whether you were like officially in the Union or like considered a satellite state. So a lot of, I guess, like tension comes from that too. Of course, disclaimer, I myself have never been to Europe, let alone Poland, but this is just what I've heard and what I've read. So anyway, let's continue.
And they like to be called Central Europeans, not Eastern Europeans. So I want to get that one out of the way first, because that's probably your quickest don't to really upset people. So remember, don't say Eastern Europe, okay? Now, when you're going to meet the Polish people here, our first don't for you is don't shake hands or say goodbye over the threshold, like in a doorway. People really don't like that. So either choose your side. Are you in the door or are you out of the door when you shake hands and say goodbye? Just one of those little things there. And if you do get to meet some Polish people and they invite you to your home, when you go there, if you see they're wearing slippers or they're not wearing shoes, you don't wear your shoes in the house either. It's kind of rude that way. So just three quick little ones to start off with, just to give you some ideas of hospitality here in Poland.
Okay, so that's interesting. I definitely can see the point of the whole threshold thing, because it's even happened to me where, let's say if you're walking out a guest from your place, or they're coming in and they kind of stop in the doorway, you know what I mean, to like either like you said, shake your hand or maybe make pleasantries, and it's like, I don't want to really keep the door open. For example, in Texas, when I was growing up, my dad and both my mom would always say like, don't leave the door open too long, you're gonna let flies in. that was definitely a thing. So yeah, I could see that. As far as the shoes thing, I will say growing up, I never took off my shoes when going inside my house, or honestly even friends' houses for that matter. I have noticed though that things are starting to change. I've noticed more people asking like people to take off their shoes before entering their home, and I actually like it. As a matter of fact, my roommate and I do the whole take off the shoes before coming in too. It's just a lot more sanitary, especially when you live in a house that mainly has carpet in it. I think that's a big thing. Carpet tends to to trap a lot more, like, you know, grime and dirt. Not to mention, like, if you're out in public, who knows what's on those public restroom floors, you know, and if you don't take off your shoes when you come back to your house, or, you know, or your apartment, you're bringing all that stuff in. So yeah, I think it's just overall a better idea to take your shoes off. But anyway, let's continue.
So our next don't for you has to deal with the language. Look, don't underestimate how helpful a few words of Polish will be for you and your visit here, whether you're up in Gdansk, you're down in Krakow or Lublin or wherever, because we all know that no one watching this video probably speaks Polish unless you're Polish by ancestry. And the thing is the Poles know that, and so they learn. They, you know, they see a lot of people speaking English or German or Russian and stuff like that to help out the tourists. But the thing is, if you know a few words in Polish, it really opens the door. Like, people are really happy, even if it's just like dziękuję, which is like thank you, or prosim, which is please, or piwo, which is beer. I remember I was like, piwo prosim. They're like, oh hey, you know, they're so happy with it, and it really goes a long way to open up to people, because you'll notice that people seem kind of dour and quiet and stern sometimes, and that's one way to open them up, okay? Now our next don't for you...
Okay, so I would think this one is pretty obvious, well, at least to me, well, and then again, maybe not to some other people, but if you're going to a country that speaks another language other than with the languages that you speak, then obviously, you know, trying to learn at least some words and phrases in that language is going to be not only beneficial to you in your travels as far as like helping you get around, but it also shows locals that you're taking an interest in their language, you're taking an interest in their culture, and I think it just shows a lot of respect too, because even if that country teaches English as their second language, and maybe that country, you know, there are a lot of English speakers even if it's not the dominant language, but it just shows that like you're not expecting them to like to speak English, you know what I mean? Like, you're not taking that for granted. But anyway, so yeah, that's good. That's a good tip for in case someone doesn't know it.
Is don't worry about busting the bank when you come here to Poland. Poland is an extremely affordable country to visit. Hotels, eating, drinking, all kinds of stuff, making merry. It is really cheap here. Also going to the museums is really affordable as well. So it's a nice place to check out. That's why when you go to Krakow, they get 10 million tourists, from, you know, high-end tourists to low income, not low income, but people that are spending a lot of money on tourism, because it's not an expensive place to be. So that's kind of a cool thing. Now my fifth don't for you kind of goes along with that cheap eating and drinking. Don't drink in public in Poland. Look, you can get arrested or fined for drinking in public. Now you see this nice square here. Yes, you can eat and drink at the restaurants and the bars like that, no problem. But if you're going to like take some wine or a beer, some of the local beer, which are pretty good here, and go take that to a park and drink there with your friends, you can get in trouble with the cops. So make sure you do not drink in public.
So that's kind of the case in the United States as well, of course, depending on what state you're from. I know for the most part, Texas is pretty relaxed when it comes to that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean that you can just go drink wherever in public. For example, like in Austin, Texas, there's a very popular drinking location called 6th Street. So it's just a street has a bunch of bars going along it, and even during a certain like time, the streets get closed off solely for the fact that there's going to be people just walking around like to the bars and stuff. So you don't have to worry about traffic during that time. But you can't take a drink outside of the bar and drink while you're walking, like, I guess, to the next bar. Like, if you have to finish your drink first, then leave the bar, and then get another drink at whatever bar you're going to. And honestly, I think that's for the best, because like, I would imagine, if they didn't make that rule, the streets during that time, because these bars get super packed and that street gets really crowded with people. So if they didn't enforce that, and people were just like spilling alcohol all over the streets and, just making a mess, just like littering, like, if it's like a plastic cup, there'll probably just be trash everywhere. So I think that's for the best. Anyway, let's continue.
To go along with that, don't forget you need to have an ID with you all the time. If you don't want to carry your passport with you, what I do is I'll actually have my driver's license from home and a photocopy of my passport with my passport locked up back at the hotel, so you do have that, because the cops could ask you for it if they really wanted to. They usually don't bother the tourists, so it's not that big of a deal, but just in case so you know. Now our next don't for you is don't try to pay with big bills. Now big bills are like 50 swatis or 100 swatis, like 100 or 50. If it's like under 20, because people ask you, oh, do you have anything smaller? They're always going to ask for a smaller bill. The thing is, when you go to the ATMs, it gives you 50s and 100s. But when you go get a beer or something like that, it's 7 or 8. I'm like, do you have some smaller bills? You have some smaller bills? So when you go to museums, you go to like big stores and stuff like that, use the bigger bills there, the hundreds and stuff like that, to break them into 10s and 20s, so then you can go get your little snacks. Maybe you want your little Polish donut, or you want to go get a hot dog or something like that when you're here, or just grab a beer. You need that change, okay? So don't use the big bills here, right?
Okay. Interesting. Not gonna lie, I haven't used an ATM for a long time, but I'm used to getting, like, if I do pull out money, I'm used to getting everything in 20s. And here in the United States, like, 20s is a very safe bill. Like, it's not considered too big and it's not considered too small, so I have yet to encounter anybody that gets like kind of annoyed if you pay with a 20. 50s and $100 bills, definitely I've seen it. Like, people will even ask you here, like, if you pay with a 50 or 100, especially 100, they'll ask, like, do you have anything anything smaller? And it's something that I rarely do anyway, but so yeah, that kind of makes sense here. The fact that the ATM only gives you big bills, is that everywhere in Poland, or does it kind of depend on maybe what city you're in or what ATM you're pulling from? All right.
Another don't I have for you is don't forget to tip when you are here. Usually you tip 10 to 15%. 10% is normal, 15% of it's good. But you can look on the menu, and some restaurants already put that 10% on there. I know the place I wait here on the square. Remember, you're not going to bust the bank, so didn't feel ripped off because it was so cheap. The 10% was already included. She was very nice and helpful. I gave her a little bit extra on there. No big deal, okay? And going along with that, when you pay your bill, they'll always ask you to pay with credit card or cash. And if you're going to pay with cash, if you put the money in the little thing and give it to them, don't say thank you, unless you want them to keep all the money, okay? So let's say you got 100, okay, 110 bill, and you give them 150, you say thank you or dziękuję, they'll think, oh, a 40 tip for me, and they'll just walk away with it. You need to tell them, here's this, then they'll bring your change back, and then you leave your tip like that. So you have those things there. What I try to do is just have the tip already there. Now you might tell them, look, I want to pay 140, and so they'll just have the tip from there and give you your 10 back if you have 100 and a 50. No big deal there.
But can you imagine how awkward that would be if you said thank you and then, oh wait, no, I didn't want to leave that big of a tip. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not that rich. I could definitely see that though. Like, to them, it's kind of like you're saying, like, thank you, I'm good to go. Like, I guess our transaction is done. You can keep whatever is on that bill. So yeah, that would be very awkward though. As far as that tipping thing goes, that it sounds a lot like the United States as well. Sometimes, depending on, I don't know if I want to say it's like more high-end restaurants, but sometimes the restaurants automatically charge you like a tipping fee. But I want to say that still most of them don't, and it's up to you on how much you want to leave, or even if you want to tip at all, because sometimes the service is so bad that, maybe you might think like, man, this person was so rude, the food was terrible. maybe you just don't want to give a tip at all. I know that tipping also in general varies between countries across Europe, and I was under the impression that tipping wasn't a thing for most countries in Europe, but maybe that's not the case, or maybe things have changed. Let me know more about that in the comments.
My 10th don't for you is don't be late. The Poles are actually pretty much an on-time kind of people, like their German neighbors. If you're going to be late to somebody's house you're going to visit, make sure you call or text them or WhatsApp them before so they know you're running behind, because it's kind of rude to be late when you are here. I mean, we were at the museum. I was at the museum this morning, and it was supposed to open up at 10. The guy unlocked it like at 10:01, and people were like, "Come on, it says 10 o'clock. Let's go." You know, so you do have that there. So make sure you are on time. And my last don't for you is don't fall for the nature tourism propaganda in Poland. Look, you'll see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of tourism videos about the nature of Poland. And there are some beautiful natures here. The Tatras Mountains in the south by Zakopane, when you go skiing in the in the winter. You can go to the Masurian Lakes in the north. It's just beautiful. There's a castle there. There's all kinds of great nature here. But look, if it's your first time to Poland, focus on the cool cities that are here. Krakow is amazing with the town square and the cloth hall and the churches and the Wawel Hill. And you can go out and see Auschwitz and Birkenau, the concentration camps. It's a very moving experience. You can go up to Gdansk in the very north and see that city. It's beautiful. Lublin. Come here and check out Warsaw. And you can get around pretty easy. Don't worry about getting around. I guess would be another one. Don't worry about getting around in Poland. There's lots of buses and trains that go all over the place. It is a big country, so it does take time, but don't be too worried about it. Anyway, those are some of the don'ts we have about Poland. I actually have another don't video just for Krakow, the don'ts of Krakow, which I hope you'll check out. If you do like videos like this, we put out 2 travel videos every week, every Wednesday and Saturday. So please do click that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. And you can always find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, obviously YouTube. And we really appreciate those likes and subscriptions. Oh, and comments. So I'll say bye from Warsaw.
Okay. Nice video. That was Visit Poland, The Don'ts of Poland by Wolters World, and I liked it. It was a very solid video, good information. Some of it did seem like, oh come on, like, of course you're gonna do that, that's common sense, but maybe it's not so obvious to certain people, so yeah, overall, very good advice. If you are from Poland, or if you've ever been to Poland, let me know how accurate this is. Let me know, if you got most of the things right, if some of the things are wrong. And also, as mentioned earlier, if you have any recommendations of somebody from Poland that can give advice, recommend it to me in the comments. Overall, it seems like a very nice place to visit. But anyway, that is all the time I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to like, subscribe, show some love in the comments below. Please do all that good stuff. And I will see you all in the next video, guys. Peace out.